have a snake who's not going to eat for 10 days. Normal thing for a snake. But can I do that too? I'm shooting this video over the course of 10 days instead of just one. Do I have it all planned out? No. But I've also never gotten a comment from a viewer saying, I just instantly subscribed and it's all due to your careful planning. Welcome to the Green Room. I'm Bob Bledsoe. We're going to get to the part where I try to fast as long as my snake, but first I have to tell you about the new snake that I got. That's Kent behind the camera, by the way. You are crazy for fasting and you're probably going to die in 3 hours because 3 hours is skipping like 6 snacks. Well, Kent, I will take your concerns into consideration. I'm not a doctor, but I know a lot about snacks. Okay, let's talk about the newest member of the Green Room. Join me on a hiking trail for this one. We're going to do this video a little bit vlog style because I'm hiking and it's nice out. So let me catch you up. A little while back, I was contacted by a viewer who needed to get rid of a snake. And sometimes people contact me about that and I've always said no. But this snake happened to be a banana pied and a female. I am working on that project and I don't yet even have banana het pieds from Lucille. So it would be nice to have another female to raise up that's a visual pied banana. So I had him send her to me. She's great. She showed up in this box. She is 6 months old. So he bought her as a hatchling at 2 months old and he's had her for 4 months. And she showed up, and when I opened the box and brought her out, she seemed really not afraid, very confident, seemed to have a good trip, but she was way bigger than I expected. And I thought, wow, this is a sort of odd body condition for a 6-month-old snake. Maybe it's older than that. I didn't think much of it beyond that. But then when I chatted with the person who sent it, he told me that the snake had been eating every 2 days, which is way more than a snake should eat. And this is a common issue sometimes with people buy an animal and they don't quite yet understand the care for it. So in the case of a snake, they eat every week to 2 weeks, and if you feed them way more than that, it's super unhealthy and they'll get very fat. He had started watching my videos before he contacted me, so chances are he would have figured this out and the snake would have been fine. But the fact is that the body condition of this snake is, at 6 months old, lots of rolls, lots of lumps, way bigger than my other snakes that are about that age. I have 2 females who are about 5 months old. And when they're curled up, you don't see any rolls and you don't see any lumps or anything like that. And they're also half the size, more than half the size. I mean, less than half the size of this particular snake. So she needs to go on a diet. By the way, her name is Cinnamon, but I have nicknamed her Jenny Craig. And that's what I've been calling her, even though she's keeping the name Cinnamon, but I'll probably refer to her from now on as Jenny Craig because she's on a massive diet. Let me keep hiking and then we'll talk about it. I just made it up to the top of a long hill. You guys, I want to stress that these keepers were not bad keepers. They were actually really good. This snake is super well socialized. They took the time to reach out to me and pay for shipping to ship her to me rather than they could have just dropped her off at a shelter. But they wanted the best life for her. So this happens a lot where keepers just don't know what they don't know sometimes. And I'm confident that these guys would have figured this out in watching my videos because I have a bunch of videos that talk about this. And I think that they had just started watching when they reached out to me. So the fact is, though, that ball pythons will, or pretty much any snake, will eat something and then immediately be looking for something else to eat. And the previous owner told me that he started feeding her more because she looked hungry after she ate. And so he thought she needed more. So he started feeding her twice a week. And then he moved to every other day. So she was eating every 2 days for, I think, a couple of months. And what happens is the animal then grows to their maximum size that their age and genetics will allow for. And then they just start packing on fat. So in the case of a reptile, especially a snake, if you see that a snake is fat, they're very obese because they're going to pack on fat around their organ tissue or around their organs before they do it subcutaneously. So the fact that she had rolls already at 6 months old, I've never seen a snake that's overweight at 6 months old because usually they just grow in length. You can overfeed a young snake and they just grow in length. But in this case, she had grown to the max length and just got fat. The good thing, though, is that she is young and something can be done about it. She'll be fine, I think. Wish I had something to stabilize a bit while I was walking, but I don't right now. So I just have a shaky camera for a bit. So here's what happens when a python eats something. Their body has an entire process that mammals don't have, that they have to go through to digest that food. And it's a big deal, and it puts a lot of stress on their body. The biggest thing that does is it causes their organs to almost double in size while they're digesting. And this is why your animal will go into hiding for a couple days after they digest, and they're not going to move around much. It's like when you eat a Thanksgiving dinner. It doesn't have to be Thanksgiving. You all are from different countries. It could be any large dinner. You eat a large dinner and then you go take a nap for an hour. That's how the snake feels for like 2 or 3 days. Those are the first few days of digesting. It's not like they're finished digesting after 2 or 3 days. That's just when it's safe to handle them again. But the process actually takes 10 days from start to finish for them to digest. So it's a big deal. Look at this area, you guys. It's so beautiful here. So it's a big deal for them to digest. And this young snake, Jenny Craig, has probably not relaxed from digesting in about 4 months. So she needs a bit of time for her body to react. Okay, I'm on the same hike, but it's the next day. So what I was saying is that Jenny Craig needs time for her body to go back to normal and relax a little bit. So here's the plan, or here was the plan, because we're kind of in the future at this point. What I decided to do was give her 2 weeks off of food. And at this age, and even at this size, I would still be feeding every 7 to 10 days. But I wanted to give her 14 days off of food. She already probably had 3, so she's actually getting 17 days off. And then I want to try to feed her a frozen thawed day-old chick. Not something that I would ever normally do, especially for a new snake. I always say that when you have a new animal, you want to feed them exactly what they were eating before. Plus, this is a snake who's never had a bird before, I'm sure. It's very different than what I would normally do. But I'm going to give her 2 weeks off, offer her a chick, and see what happens. That happened the other day, so take a look at that. My reason for giving Jenny Craig a day-old chick instead of a rodent is that a chick has very little fat, very little protein, and hollow bones. It gives her something to eat, but it's going to digest quickly and get her organs back to a relaxed state. I had no idea if she was going to take it or not, and as it turns out, she didn't strike. So I thought, well, I'll just leave it in for her overnight and we'll see what happens. But I decided to check back on her a couple hours later before I went to bed, and look what happened.
It's like 2 hours later. I thought she covered it, but no, she ate her snacks.
I'm going to now give her 10 days from that time, and I'll feed her a probably like a weaned rat, something smaller than I normally would after 10 days. And during those 10 days, I'm also not going to eat. This seems a little weird for some of you, I'm sure, but fasting for a human is safe to do, and I don't recommend it for everyone. Women have to be careful because it messes with your hormones, but everybody has to be careful if they haven't done it before. I have done it many times before, though, and I know how my body reacts to it, and I know how far I can push and things like that. So I'm going to go 10 days on a water fast, and a water fast just means that I'm not taking in anything that's going to cause a metabolic response. So I'm going to drink water, I can drink coffee, black coffee, nothing in it, and tea, basically, is what I can drink. And, you know, sometimes I do a 3-day fast, sometimes I've done 7, sometimes I've done 10, and I'm going to try to go for 10, but if I'm not feeling good, I'll break the fast. It's fine, it's not a big deal. So we're on day 3 right now, actually. And I've done these kind of fasts before where I know that I can do activity. I can go hiking and stuff like that, fasted. It's not a problem. I'm not going to collapse. I'm not going to pass out, die of hunger. The human body can go a very long time without food. You just need lots of water. And during my fasts, I drink at least a gallon of water a day, plus coffee and tea, whatever else. But just pure water, at least a gallon. So this is day 3 for me, and it's day 3 for Jenny Craig. We'll see how we both do. Here's one thing I forgot to mention. By the way, this is a little outdoor amphitheater at a hiking place called Tree People in Los Angeles. It's beautiful. The thing I forgot to mention is that the reason I fast is for health, general health purposes, not for weight loss, even though that is a side effect of it, but that's not the main reason that I do it, or the reason really at all. It's more for, kind of like snakes, giving your system a break. I tend to, when I eat, I tend to eat too much, and so I have to consciously limit myself. And I can easily do these fasts if I just decide that I'm not going to eat. But what happens is I end up with more energy. I end up with a lot of mental clarity where I can be more creative. I'm usually a lot more creative when I'm fasting. And you just feel good. There are times when you feel hungry, but you just drink water when you feel hungry. Or I do anyway. Again, I'm not suggesting that you guys do this. If you do it, do a lot of research. Most people that do their first week to 10-day fast do it medically supervised, so I recommend that. I've just done it so much that I know how my body reacts, and I do just fine with it. I have a lot of extra weight that my body can burn, as you know, can live on as I do these fasts. One negative side effect that I don't like, and really it's the only one that I can think of, is that it messes with your sleep. So I am ready to go to bed at 7, 8 o'clock at night, and then I'm awake sometimes at 3 in the morning. So it does screw with your sleep, and sleep is really important. All right, I gotta go walk. I'm coming back down the mountain. This is an easy hike. It's about 3 miles. It's a mile and a half up the mountain, and a mile and a half back down the mountain. And as I'm coming back down the mountain, I'm having a lot of pain in one of my knees, which I've never had this issue before, but don't worry, I know exactly what it is. It is some sort of medical problem of which we don't know the extent. So I'm getting back down the mountain. I'm fine. I'll be fine. I just have to take it slow. And I might not be hiking tomorrow. We'll see what the extent of this situation is. And if the next cut you see is from the house, you'll know that I didn't hike tomorrow. Day 4. My knee is feeling fine today, but it got pretty bad yesterday walking down that mountain, where I was thinking, am I going to have to army crawl to get down this thing? So I just want to give my joints a break for a couple days before I try to hike again. So I'm spending a little bit of time with Miss Jenny Craig here in the quarantine room. I want her to move around each day a little bit. Look how pretty she is, you guys. She's definitely a low white pied, but what a great example of a beautiful banana pied. So anyway, I was thinking about, there is another negative side effect that I forgot about when I was talking about this, and it pertains to snakes as well. When I fast for a few days, eventually I'll start to be cold generally during the day. I'll just be colder. And the reason is that the majority of the calories that mammals eat, well, not the majority, but I don't know how much, but a good portion of the calories that mammals eat go towards keeping their bodies warm. And snakes don't need that. So that's why they don't have to eat multiple times a day or even multiple times a week. They're not using those calories to keep themselves warm. So for fasting, that's another, it doesn't bother me that much, so I don't worry too much about it, but it is another negative side effect about being on a fast. For me, the positive effects of fasting outweigh the negatives, which is a bit of sleep deprivation and being cold. Although I did sleep really well last night. I was surprised. I slept 9 hours, which was great. But you just never know when you're on a fast. Hi. Day 4 for you, too. You're feeling good. You aren't even done digesting your last meal. I finished digesting mine 4 days ago. You're a very sweet girl. Yeah, you can check me out. Before we learn more about the important subject of snakes eating and, I guess, humans fasting, let's see what's happening in Kent's Corner. Hi, welcome to Kent's Corner, the show that all the critics say things about. Don't worry, I'm keeping my eye on Bob over the next 10 days. He is freaking crazy. I mean, we already knew he was crazy because he has all those snakes, but if he passes out because of a lack of sandwiches, our mom is gonna be like, what? But don't worry, I have a whole protocol to save him. I'm gonna freaking run to the grocery store and I'm gonna buy Cheese Whiz. Some of you who are diehard fans of the channel know that I promote Cheese Whiz as an entire meal replacement.
Now, I'm not going to just start shoving donuts into his mouth because that's not nice. He's passed out. But what I can do is shove a Cheese Whiz nozzle right up his nose and start pumping that delicious cheese-flavored contents right down his nose pipes and into his belly. He's going to wake up and he's going to be like, "Thanks, Kent. You saved me. Yum." Thank you for watching Kent's Corner. And now back to Bob's amateur selfie vlog thing.
Hi there, I'm on day 5 now, and I decided to do an urban walk instead of a mountainous hike. I'm 100%, I feel 100% on my knee, but I feel like if I started going down a mountain again, we might have the same problem. So I'm just walking around Burbank. I had a conversation with Roger Gray today on the phone, and he told me the story about the opposite problem that he had with the first snake that they got for his daughter Samantha. Before he was into ball pythons, his daughter wanted a snake, and they looked on Craigslist for one, and they found one that he said the picture looked good. He had done a bunch of research before, and the snake looked good in the picture, but when they went to pick it up, it was way underweight, and apparently these people had been feeding this snake. They thought that an appropriate feed schedule was 1 pinky once a month, and this snake was super emaciated, as you can see by the photo. They were gonna pass on it, but they decided to go ahead and get it because the snake really needed to be saved. So this is a situation where the keeper probably wasn't looking at videos, they probably weren't doing research, and they were just way underfeeding the snake. They took that snake home and put it in Samantha's room, and she nursed the snake back to health, got it eating appropriately sized meals once a week, and within 3 months, it was doing great. And that snake ended up being the sire to their first clutch of ball pythons. And that's what started Gray Family Snakes, which I think is cool.
We were perfect.
I know. Day 6, you guys. I'm on day 6 of fasting. I have 4 days to go. This is my friend Cherie holding Lucille.
Hello.
Cherie, let me ask you something. As my friend, are you concerned that I haven't eaten in 6 days?
No.
Okay. As a highly respected bi-coastal physician practicing in New Hampshire? Maryland. I knew it was Maryland. I just couldn't. So Maryland, practicing in Maryland and Los Angeles. Are you concerned that I'm fasting for 10 days?
No. I'm not concerned about.
But you might be concerned about other people.
Correct.
That haven't done it before, don't know what they're doing, do it wrong.
Are not healthy, don't know when to stop. You actually have stopped when your body has told you to stop before, and I've seen you do it many times.
Yeah, you've been around me a lot
when you know what you're doing
when I'm fasting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that there's going to be people watching this going, "Oh my gosh, he's crazy. He's going to die." But really, you can go a long time without eating, right?
Yeah, not as long as snakes. A long time.
That's right, not as long as snakes. You don't want to fast for a year. All right, thanks, Cherie.
You're welcome.
I appreciate your input. I'm glad Dr. Terry was over during the time that I was fasting because it's good to get her perspective on it. She is not a snake keeper herself, but she knows more than a lot of other snake keepers now about snakes, which I think is great. She handles all the snakes here in the green room, including Maya sometimes, which is very brave, as many of you know. Patreon supporters that I'm scrolling right now, those of you who have purchased snakes from the green room, have broken her heart every time that snake gets shipped off to you. Because as soon as she holds a snake one time, she's bonded with it. And I have a confession to make. Some snakes that leave the green room here break my heart as well. Spencer Lambus, I'm talking to you. Anyway, these are the people who support the channel and keep it going. So thanks very much to them. And thanks so much to these channel sponsors. And we have a new channel sponsor who some of you might know. If you've watched my videos before, Gray Family Snakes has just become a channel sponsor, which I'm really excited about. I love that family. They're fantastic. They even gave a discount code, so you get 10% off. Check out Gray Family Snakes on Morph Market. There's currently, right now as of this video, they've got a handful of snakes, and some of which are good pet snakes. Like they're not super expensive, high-end ones, and they're really beautiful. I can attest to the fact that Gray Family Snakes animals come socialized, they are healthy, they're beautiful animals. So link to their Morph Market is in the description below, as is links to the other channel sponsors. We're on day 7, and I just want to do a couple cleanup things because I was watching the videos that I shot over the last few days and realizing that there was some stuff that I missed. So at one point I mentioned that it takes a python 10 days to digest their food. That was a study that was done on Burmese pythons, I think, and I'm sure they studied adults. So it does take a juvenile a shorter period of time to digest, but it's still not quick. So a lot of people think that, you know, they feed their young snake and then they see it defecate 2 days later. That doesn't mean that they've digested that meal and now gotten rid of that particular meal. That defecation could have been from the meal prior to that, 2 meals prior to that, just whatever's in their system they're getting rid of at that point because they've taken in something new, but they're still working on that digestion. And the other thing is that, you know, when you look at Jenny Craig, for those of you that aren't used to looking at the body condition of ball pythons of different ages, when you look at her, you go, oh, that's not a morbidly obese snake. Like, she doesn't look super fat. You know, if you compare her especially to adult females that have bulked up for breeding season, they're way fatter than that, or they seem to be way fatter than that. But keep in mind what I said before, that a snake, if you see a snake looking fat at all, that means that they've already built up a bunch of fat around their organs, and now it's starting to show subcutaneously. So for a 6-month-old snake, you don't want to see any fat at all. So that's the concern. But we're taking care of it. Hi, day 8. So real quick, here's another side effect of fasting, especially when you're deep into a fast. You get a really heightened sense of smell. And it's actually really nice to sit with people who are eating, or like the other day I went and stood in front of I walked by a Chinese restaurant and I stopped because it smelled so good. But people think that it's torture to eat in front of you. So they're always like, oh, I don't want to eat in front of you because I know you're fasting. But it's only torture when your body's used to eating. Like if you're eating normally and you're just really hungry, you don't want to sit there and watch other people eat. But when you're deep into a fast, it's not torture, and I don't understand why, but it is kind of like having a meal when you can just smell it because your senses are so heightened. I don't know how to relate that to snakes, so I won't. And here's Stella. Day 9, I'm doing well. I'm at a stoplight. Jenny Craig is doing well. I'll see you on day 10. Day 10. A normal amount of time for a snake to go without eating, but kind of an extreme amount of time for a human. I didn't do any before and after photos. I didn't weigh myself before. I never weigh myself anyway. But it's because the fast isn't about weight loss. It's about other health benefits like the reset and cell regeneration and all kinds of other benefits that you can learn about if you go down a rabbit hole of learning about fasting, preferably from doctors and scientists, not people like me. That's why I'm not spending time in this video trying to teach you guys all the aspects of fasting. Jenny Craig will get a meal tonight, and I'm sure she's going to be a lot happier with it because she's going to get a weaned rat, and that's more what she's used to eating as opposed to a day-old chick, which she had never eaten before. So weaned rat for her, which is smaller than you would normally give a snake that size. And I might repeat that. I haven't quite decided, but I might repeat that situation where I go weaned rat and then give her 2 weeks off, day-old chick, 10 days off, weaned rat, 2 weeks off, and so on. I might do that a couple times. I'm not sure. I might change my mind. We'll just see how it goes. But it takes a snake a really long time to lose fat. So this might cycle a few times. The idea here is to give her plenty of days where her digestive system isn't working overtime, but also continuing to give her something because she needs to keep eating food. Speaking of which, I'm going to break my fast right now with chicken broth. There we go. Fast is officially over. Later today, I'll have some sort of protein, like a small chicken breast or something like that. If you go on a long-term fast, you have to break it really slowly. You got to be very careful as you ease yourself back on food. So, a little chicken broth here for me. Do you want to see that video where Kent uses Cheese Whiz as a full meal replacement? It's right here. You'll also learn something about helping a snake who's kind of a picky eater to get back on food on a regular basis. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. I guess technically I'm not eating, but it's nice to be drinking something that's not coffee, tea, or water. You know?